This is the Fuji X-E5 and it's fair to say this is actually two cameras in one. Confused? Let me explain. Welcome to Adventures in Aperture. Okay, so before we go any further, here's some full disclosure. Fuji loaned me this X-E5, but as always, they don't get any input into the review. So why do I think this camera is actually two cameras in one? Well, it's all down to the combination of specifications and the physical size of the body. If you're new to Fuji cameras, the X-E range of mirrorless bodies has arguably played understudy to the X-T or X-Pro ranges, and I think it's fair to say the X-E cameras have never really grabbed the same amount of headlines. But I think with the X-E5, that's all set to change. This is a tiny body, and when it has the 23mm 2.8 lens attached like this one, it genuinely fits in my jacket pocket and can be taken anywhere. Shape-wise, it's more like Fuji's X100 IV, a brilliant camera that's so popular it's actually hard to get your hands on one. In fact, the shelves are pretty empty. However, while the X100 features a fixed lens, the X-E5 has interchangeable lenses, giving you more creative options. With that 23mm lens added, it feels very much like a camera for street photography. It's well built, it's discreet, it's easy to use, and as I say, you're able to slip it away in your jacket as you pound the pavement in search of your next street shot. But because you can swap out those lenses, this camera is also great for landscape photography. Not only because you can pair the body with a wide angle or telephoto lens to mix up your focal lengths, but also thanks to the massive resolution this camera offers. Now, at the heart of this camera is an APS-C sensor that serves up 40 megapixels of resolution. That's a massive jump from the 26 megapixels offered by the predecessor, the X-E4. Now, that's enough to make huge prints or enable you to crop in heavily on scenes without compromising on image quality. How good is the image quality? Well, I think this is one of the best APS-C sensors I've ever tested. The image quality is that good, and I think few people will actually need more resolution than this X-E5 produces. Here's a quick gallery of the images I captured using this camera. The design of the X-E5 will be familiar to existing Fuji owners, with the retro chic styling, milled dials and impressive metal top plate. However, I think I need to point out one or two really cool design features that are new to the X-E line. First up on the X-E5 is a physical focus mode switch on the side of the camera that will enable you to change from manual, continuous and single focus mode. This may seem like a small feature, but it's incredibly useful out in the field, and it saves you diving into the menu navigation features. More special perhaps is the little dial and window that shows which film simulation mode you're using, and this helps you change the settings quickly. There's no less than 20 different film simulation options, and my favourite is either Classic Chrome or the Velvia option. But the addition of that dial definitely makes me try out different options a lot more than if I had to go into the menu system. The X-E5 isn't an especially fast camera compared to other APS-C rivals, and probably wouldn't be the one to select if you're heavily into sport photography. And yes, there are a few compromises and niggles I should point out. First up, the EVF is small and may not suit everybody, but that said, I prefer to use the LCD to frame up images anyway. And speaking of that LCD, the X-E5 features a tilting design rather than a fully articulating option. Look, I get it, adding that in would have, increased the size of the camera, but I wish that they had added that vari-angle LCD, more because I prefer to flip the LCD round and turn it in so that it protects the screen when I'm not using the camera and it's sitting in my kit bag during transit. Apart from those small compromises though, there's really not that much to dislike with the X-E5. There are a decent amount of dials, switches and levers, and these features work in special ways to give you even more ways to adjust settings. For example, the smaller dials also have a push-in action, and the lever has a short push or a long push too, so you can set different adjustments. There's no dedicated video record button, but you can of course assign this to one of the other push buttons on the top dial. And the X-E5 returns decent video specifications. You can capture footage up to 6.2K at 30p, though it's best to make sure you have a decent SD card in the camera to cope with all that data. There is also a port for an external mic, but no port for headphones, so you can't monitor audio as you're recording. I'm slightly undecided on the video elements here. It's great the option to capture both stills and video is on offer to X-E5 users, but I'm not really sure this would be my first choice if I was a heavy video shooter. And you know what? I had so much fun capturing stills when testing this camera that I really don't want to switch over and capture video. It's just something about this camera that really guides you towards capturing stills. It's quite special. Now, there's a few other features and figures to cover off before we round off this review, and the first is that thanks to that improved light efficient pixel structure, this enables a lower native ISO of 125 on the X-E5, which was only previously available as an extended option on the previous X-E4. Plus, the X-E5 benefits from up to 7 stops of compensation thanks to that advanced 5-axis IBIS system, which will come in massively useful when shooting in low light conditions. Images and video are saved to that single SD card, but this is at the bottom of the camera next to the battery compartment, and I'm not a big fan of placing the card slot here. It probably could have fitted on the side of the camera, but again, that was probably a decision to keep the camera a little bit smaller. So the X-E5 is a tricky camera to summarise. You really have to take a closer look at the camera to realise just how versatile the X-E5 can be for photographers. And I stand by my intro that this is very much 2 cameras in one. Street photographers will really appreciate the tiny build, the discreet styling, along with the fact that it weighs just 445 grams and fits in your jacket pocket. But travel and landscape photographers will yearn after that 40 megapixel sensor and the premium level image quality it delivers. The APS-C sensor mirrorless market is competitive, but so is the X-E5's price tag. In the UK, it's currently priced at just £1,299 body only. A rival like the Sony a6-700 is £50 more expensive, and I'd take the X-E5 all day long over the Sony. Yes, at this price point you could look at other formats, maybe the new OM5 Mark II from OM System with its micro four thirds sensor, or you could even go full frame with the 24 megapixel Nikon Z5. But I think the X-E5 strikes an almost perfect balance between build, resolution, features and price tag. Sure, the X-E series may have been overlooked in the past, but this camera will change things for sure. Now, what do you think of the X-E5? Is this a camera that you would buy, or is there something that puts you off? Let me know in the comments section, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.